Does anybody know the rules? Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney. The Toronto Maple Leafs played the Ottawa Senators tonight in their second half of a back-to-back, because why not just open up the season right out of the gate by having 2 games on back-to-back nights? The NHL and their scheduling are going to drive me nuts. But anyway, this was one of the most annoying games I've watched in a very long time. Because since when is Anton Forsberg a Vezina-level goaltender? Since he played the Leafs, apparently. I had to deal with him being my goaltender for the Ice Hogs, and I had to deal with him being my goaltender on the Blackhawks, and now, since he's with Ottawa, I have to deal with him facing the Maple Leafs and just becoming a brick wall. I don't know what I ever did to Anton Forsberg, so he has this vendetta against me, but I need to figure it out and ask for some sort of forgiveness or something. So anyway, let's go over the 3 questions I had for tonight's game so we can talk about how it went. Question number 1. Can the Maple Leafs start the game on time? Silly me for ever thinking that they would come out in the second game of the season and fix that from their first. Or, fix that from also being what killed them in the playoffs. No. Clearly, the Maple Leafs did not start this game on time. They weren't as outplayed as they were last night by the Montreal Canadiens, but they were being outshot and they definitely got outscored in the first period. They got outscored 3-0 to be exact, just in the first period. Question number 2. Will Petr Mrázek have a great first game? No, I wouldn't call it great, but you also can't blame any of the goals on him, and he only played 40 minutes of this game because at the end of the second period he was injured. Because the Leafs just can't have nice things no matter what. I don't know if he just tweaked something. It started when he got hit up high with a puck. It sort of stung him a bit, but then at the end of the second period he made a last second save he learned from the first period, and then he went down to the ice and you could tell he was not feeling very good. I was hoping it was just a minor tweak that he could work out during the intermission, but Jack Campbell came out to start the third period. And Jack Campbell is still a god! But Petr Mrázek made 23 saves on 26 shots, and again, you can't blame any of those 3 goals against him. Jack Campbell, in the third period, stopped 10 out of 10 shots. And 10 out of 10 would recommend rooting for Jack Campbell. And Petr Mrázek, he really was having a good game. It's really unfortunate that he went down with an injury. Hopefully, it is not anything long-term, and they just kept him out of the third period for precaution. I'm sure we will hear more either later tonight or tomorrow, but it is time to really start hoping. Question number 3. Will the Maple Leafs score on the power play? Yes! Twice, in fact. And they only scored 2 goals tonight, so they scored all of their goals in this game on the power play. They did have 5 power plays in the game. They only scored on 2 of them. Ultimately, you would like to see them score on more of them, but we cannot be too picky here. Converting on 2 out of 5 is still good. And the most reassuring part of all of that is that their power plays looked decent. They were moving the puck around a lot. They were getting a lot of shots, but Anton Forsberg is gonna win the Vezina Trophy this year, as long as he plays the Leafs for all 82 games. Thankfully, that doesn't happen, so hopefully the next time the Leafs see him, he will look a bit more human. Or a lot more human. So now that we know the Leafs scored 2 goals, and we know the Senators scored 3 goals, and we know that the Maple Leafs lost to the Ottawa Senators 3-2, let's talk about the goals that were scored in this game. 8 minutes and 31 seconds into the first period, Pierre Engvall was trying his best to prove to the coaching staff that he deserves to be on the Leafs playoff roster. I know playoffs are still quite a few months away, but Pierre Engvall is thinking ahead, because right inside of his defensive blue line, he turned the puck over and then it ended up in the back of the Leafs net. It still hurts. But even better on this one, it was reviewed to see if the puck was kicked in. And here is where I must ask, does anybody know the rules of hockey? Does anybody know what a kick is? I'm sorry, but I thought it was when you move your foot toward the net and redirect the puck into the net while doing so. How is what happened not a kick? How is what happened in that Seattle game on the first night of the regular season this year not a kick! Does anybody in the NHL know what kicking is? Do they have to look like football players when they're punting the football? Does it have to be that exaggerated? Because if that's the case, then just get rid of the stupid rule in general. Better yet, just get rid of it without it having to be exaggerated. Because it's a dumb judgment call, and clearly, they have bad judgment. And no, this is not coming from a place of bias, but that was a kick that should not have been a goal. And nobody knows what the freaking rules are. Better yet, the NHL said they were gonna really clamp down on cross-checking this year. They were going to make sure to call all of these cross-checking calls. But apparently, the officials got confused, and they thought by calling cross-checking, the league was telling them to call hooking. And so now every time a player lifts somebody's stick up, it's apparently a hooking call. Just to be clear, I am not blaming the officials for the Leafs losing this game. I think that's a weak excuse, and yeah, sometimes it does end up happening in games. That's not what happened tonight, but the inconsistency in officiating is just absolutely maddening. So anyway, that goal was kicked in. It shouldn't have counted. The game should have been tied 2-2 at the end of regulation, but alas, it was not. 18 minutes and 58 seconds into the first period on the power play, Ottawa scores again, and it goes off of Tyler Ennis, because of course it does, because he's a former Leaf. That makes the game 2-0 because the puck just decided it wanted to hit Ennis in the arm. Do you see how you can't blame Mrázek for what happened tonight? Oh, but they were not done. No, they were not anywhere close to being done in this period, because right at the end of the first period, with mere seconds left on the clock, the Leafs commit a horrible turnover in their own defensive zone once again. Alex Formenton just absolutely blasts the puck past Petr Mrázek with 0.6 seconds to go. And the game was 3-0 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. Now, the Leafs lost 3-2, so obviously that was the end of scoring for the Senators tonight. Petr Mrázek stopped all 14 shots in the second period. The Leafs also did not score in the second period or in the first period. So here we go, marching into the third period with the Maple Leafs down 3-0. And 3 minutes and 11 seconds into the third period, who else but Jason Spezza on the power play, absolutely blasting a shot past Anton Forsberg. It looked like he was not going to be able to be beaten tonight, but leave it up to Jason Spezza to find a way. That was assisted by Morgan Rielly and William Nylander. Speaking of Willie, 8 minutes and 50 seconds into the third period on the power play, William Nylander gets the puck. He focuses on that goal. He focuses on this goaltender who can seemingly not be beaten by anybody else but Jason Spezza, and he rips a shot past him, 3-2, and oh my goodness, are the Leafs gonna do it? Clearly they didn't, but it looked for a while like they could, because after those two goals, they were really pushing the pace. It would have been nice if they showed up like that from the beginning of the game. Maybe they wouldn't have been in that mess at all. But I also saw that same thing last night with the Blackhawks, who also got scored on 3 times in the first period. And not just the first period, but the first 10 minutes of the first period. Anyway, this is not about that worst team. This is about the Maple Leafs, and they did lose 3-2, but they really showed promise at the end of the game. Jack Campbell came in and was absolutely amazing. Petr Mrázek was good through the first 2 periods. Again, I hope his injury is not long-term. Those 3 goals, you can't put on him at all. They were dumb bounces. The first one shouldn't have counted. And he did have to come up with some big stops on his own. So despite the loss, the Leafs did try to get themselves back into the game. They were getting shots throughout the game, but Forsberg was just stopping everything coming towards him. William Nylander had a great game. Jason Spezza had a great game. Mitch Marner had a very good game. And John Tavares was just winning faceoffs left and right like it was nobody's business. Justin Hall maybe didn't have the best game. Pierre Engvall maybe didn't have the best game. But he did score the first goal of the season for the Leafs, so there's that. All in all, it was a very frustrating game. It was definitely a game of one team coming in on the second half of a back-to-back and one team playing their first game of the season and it being their home opener. That's not an excuse. The game was still very winnable for the Leafs. They just could not be bothered to show up until about midway through the game, but it was winnable. And yes, the Senators did look fairly good themselves. They were getting a lot of chances. They were throwing everything at the Leafs net. But when it really mattered and when they were really feeling themselves, the Leafs turned it on. They had 25 shots in the third period. Maybe you could say that's a little bit of Jack Campbell magic, but they need to help out Petr Mrázek the same way. We all love Jack, but we also have a new friend, and we have to love and appreciate him as well. The final shots on goal total turned out to be 48-36 in favor of the Leafs, and the Leafs won 54.2 of their faceoffs and only allowed 1 power play goal to the Ottawa Senators on 4 chances. So it wasn't a horrible game. It was the second half of a back-to-back. It's the second game of the season. They are still without Austin Matthews. But it was so winnable, and that's so frustrating, especially frustrating with how all of Ottawa's goals went in and just how lackluster and lazy the Leafs looked in the first period. But that game is over. There's nothing that can be done about it now. Now we have to look forward to Saturday when the Maple Leafs take on the Ottawa Senators once again. Here's my 3 questions. Question 1, can the Maple Leafs start on time? Where have I heard this question before? Maybe they should just do it this time. Question 2, will the Maple Leafs limit their defensive zone turnovers? All of the goals against tonight seem to be self-inflicted wounds, which is so often the case with the Leafs. And defensive zone turnovers are always going to happen. They are playing another NHL team. Other NHL teams have great players on them. But they cannot just be making careless mistakes. It's the beginning of the season, but you had to get those out in preseason. You have to start the good habits now so that you carry them throughout the season and maybe even into the playoffs. What a concept! So if the Leafs want to redeem themselves on Saturday night versus the same Senators team, they need to limit their defensive zone turnovers. Although they did only have 9 giveaways compared to the Senators' 19, clearly they should not have been on the losing end of this game, but alas, this is the Toronto Maple Leafs we are talking about, and nothing ever makes sense. Question 3, will Mitch score his first goal of the season? I think it would do the kid a lot of good if he could get that first goal out of the way early. The 3rd game of the season would be a great time to do that, especially before his pal Austin Matthews comes back. He looked pretty decent in game 1. He looked very good tonight. He was generating chances in front of the net. He was getting shots off, just nothing was going in. And he was also shooting the puck on the power play. And he didn't score a power play goal at all last year, so maybe he can do that on Saturday night. You know, just get all of those monkeys off of his back. But Mitch has looked good to start the season, and it would be great to see him get that first goal on the board. And I think it would be really good for his confidence too, seeing as how everything went down this summer and how angry all of Canada seemed to be at him. So those are my 3 questions for Saturday night's Toronto Maple Leafs versus Ottawa Senators game. Do you have any questions for that game? Any questions for the team as a whole? Please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to read them. If you want to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. There's links to all of the places you can find us over there. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are not yet subscribed, and hit the like button on this video because that would make me very happy. If you are more of a social media person and would like to follow us on all of those platforms, they are all linked for you down in the description. All of that being said, thank you so very much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Get some rest before Saturday, and I will catch you all after that game. Bye, guys.